Hello everyone, welcome to Desert Succulent. Today we're going to be featuring an eye-catching plant and it's called the Echeveria Nodulosa. It comes in different common names such as the painted Echeveria, Echeveria discolor, Echeveria mystica, and the Cotyledon nodulosa. This type of succulent has a moderate growth rate, hindi sila ganun kabilis lumaki, although yung kanilang stem would reach up to 2 feet tall and yung kanilang wide rosettes would reach up to 5 inches wide. If we're gonna be measuring yung aking painted Echeveria here, it's approximately 6 inches wide already and probably this is already yung kanyang adult na size, including nga yung kanyang height as well. One of the main feature nga nitong succulent na to is it's multicolored na color. Yung kanyang leaves kasi has this olive green na color, and both sa upper and the lower sides ng kanyang leaves, it will be giving you these kind of red markings that is very evident nga sa edges and even at the center nga nung kanyang pinaka-leaves. So this is the reason why tinawag siya na painted Echeveria. It's because of the vivid red markings nga sa kanyang leaves that gives now this painted effect sa kanya. Once it reaches maturity, flower stalk would emerge here sa kanyang pinakagitna and it will be giving us these pale yellow flowers with pinkish red margins. Usually every summer or during the hottest months of the year sila tumutubo and they will not be giving any fragrance at all. Our nodulosa does best in full sunlight exposure and ideally it should be getting a few hours of direct sunlight almost every day. And syempre, in cases na medyo malakas yung sinag ng araw or the temperature is too high, we need to protect the plant as well using yung ating mga shades, or you can make use of some UV sheets or just simply put it in a bright shaded area for us to prevent nga yung ating leaf burns. Although, yung kanyang leaves are actually very thick, hindi siya ganun kanipis. Kasi sometimes, if you're just gonna be looking at it this way, parang napakanipis and fragile nung kanyang pinaka-leaves. But in fact, it's thick enough, hindi siya madaling mabend, and also it won't really break easily if we're gonna be doing this. One of the most common problem if they're not gonna be receiving sufficient sunlight or if we're gonna be putting them indoors under low light is mag-ethiolate sila. This particular nodulosa that I have is actually ethiolated. From this point of view, you would see that there's a big gap between its leaves, which now indicates na before hindi nga siya nakaka-receive ng sufficient sunlight. Ganito yung kanyang itsura. Considering that this one is an Echeveria, dapat compact looking yung kanyang pinaka-rosette, dapat dikit-dikit itong ating mga leaves. We cannot really do anything about this anymore, but we have two options. Una nga dyan is we're gonna be beheading itong ating succulent. You can simply behead or i-cut itong part na to, then itatanim nyo nga itong pinaka-upper part into its separate na soil. Or second is papabayaan nyo lang siyang ganyan and we're gonna be moving it in an area kung saan makaka-receive nga siya ng sufficient sunlight. Yung new growth niya would definitely be normal. Ayan, hindi siya babalik sa dati, hindi ito magdidikit-dikit, but instead, itong ating mga new leaves na tumutubo nga would be compact. And yan o, nakikita nyo ba, mapapansin ninyo na talagang nagdikit-dikit na nga yung ating mga leaves since nakaka-receive na siya ng sufficient sunlight. But honestly, I'm really satisfied with how my nodulosa looks like sa ngayon kasi yung kanyang ethiolated na part complemented nga yung kanyang itsura, giving us this parang napakataas na look sa kanya. It's very difficult for us to appreciate an ethiolated na succulent, but this kind of painted Echeveria is an exception to that one. We need to water them occasionally until nga yung kanilang root system would become established, and if, for example, your succulent is already well established, then you can water them more often, especially nga during the hot summer months. But syempre, again, as a general rule, we have to water them again pag nag-completely dry na nga yung kanilang pinaka-soil, since this is also a drought-tolerant na succulent. Yung ating mga aerial roots are not just an indication na kulang siya sa tubig. In fact, mapapansin naman ninyo nakakadilig lang natin sa kanya and yung kanyang soil is still wet. But another purpose nitong ating mga aerial roots is that they could help in anchoring, and as a way for it to anchor itself, it would also be producing itong ating mga aerial roots, and once it grows, parang ganito, it would touches the ground, and in time, itong ating mga roots na to would become woody or titigas sila. They will mature and eventually would help now anchor itong ating nodulosa para hindi naman siya matutumba. So one thing that you need to consider na pag yung ating plant or succulent is still young or hindi pa naman sila ganun ka-mature, we have to make use of a fertilizer that has a low amounts of nitrogen. Pero pag, for example, lumaki naman na sila, like for example this one, these can definitely handle nga yung ating mga stronger na fertilizer. So we have to grow our painted Echeveria in a pot with drainage hole as much as possible, especially if you're someone na mahilig magdilig ng halaman. Dapat talaga may drainage hole sila dito nga sa kanilang pinakailalim, and at the same time, yung ating soil should be a well-draining one. And when we say well-draining, dapat pag nagdilig tayo sa kanya, in just few seconds, dapat completely na siyang mag-drain dito nga sa pinaka-bottom na part. Kasi if for example, it would take minutes na hihintayin nyo before siya mag-drain, then definitely, yung soil mix na ginagamit ninyo is not well-draining enough. And therefore, you're gonna be having problems with root rot, fungal infections, and some pests in the future. So we can propagate them through their stem cuttings or leaf cuttings, and the best way of propagating this is syempre yung ating stem cuttings. You can just simply cut it there. But if you don't want to behead or pugutan siya dyan, yung second best option would be yung kanyang leaf propagations. Napakalaki ng kanyang leaves as you would see, kaya napakadali niya rin tanggalin dito nga sa kanyang pinaka-stem. I have already removed leaf cutting sa kanya before. This is probably 1 week old. And I can already see a tiny root na tumutubo doon. Yung parang white dyan, napakaliit niya pa. But we would be expecting na yung ating leaves should establish roots in about 4 to 6 weeks time. So masyado pang maaga for us to fully appreciate yung kanyang root, but still, this one is already a good progress. Lastly, they are resistant to most diseases, but they are susceptible or possibly nga sila magkaroon ng mealybugs, our vine weevil, and aphids. Pero pag nagkaroon nga tayo ng mga ganong pests, you can easily see them because itong color ng kanyang leaves will be red, and mabilis makita yung ating mga mealybugs since they are whitish in color. And that's all for our Echeveria Nodulosa. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You may also visit our Facebook page, A Desert Succulent PH.